Transparency and overlap in grid-based typography. Modern graphic design aesthetics actively uses the principles of transparency and overlap to create visually complex, dynamic, and expressive compositions. In the context of grid-based typography, these techniques acquire special importance as they allow for a harmonious combination of strict structure with creative freedom. Grid-based typography, structure and flexibility. Grid-based typography involves the use of a modular structure for the placement of text and graphic elements. The grid helps organize visual information, providing clarity, rhythm, and visual logic. However, the strict geometry of the grid can be complemented with softer and more expressive techniques such as transparency and overlay. Transparency is the property of objects to let some of the light or color pass through them, allowing you to see the elements underneath them. Overlay is the process of combining several layers of graphics or text on top of each other. Together, these techniques create the effect of depth, layering, and interaction of elements. Transparency, creating depth and connections. In typography, transparency is used to achieve the following goals: creating depth. Translucent text blocks or elements allow the viewer to perceive the composition as a multi-layered structure. This adds interest to the design and makes it more voluminous. Strengthen the connection between the elements. Transparent elements can overlap the boundaries of the grid, combining different zones of the composition. This creates a sense of unity and smoothness. Focus. Transparent layers can be used to highlight key elements or to create contrast between different levels of information. Overlay. Playing with textures and shapes. Overlay in typography allows you to experiment with textures, colors, and shapes. Color mixing. When semi-transparent elements are applied, the colors blend to create new shades. This adds artistic complexity to the composition. Integration of text with graphics. Text can be superimposed on images or other text blocks, which creates interesting visual effects and enhances the emotional impact of the design. The dynamics of the composition. The overlapping of elements breaks the strict geometry of the grid, adding movement and energy to the design. Transparency and overlay within the grid. Although transparency and overlap may seem like chaotic techniques, using them within a grid structure allows you to maintain a balance between creative freedom and visual order. The grid serves as the basis for the placement of elements, and transparency and overlap add expressiveness to the composition. Practical tips for using: control the level of transparency. Avoid excessive transparency so as not to lose the readability of the text. Use contrast. Make sure that the text remains distinguishable even when overlaid on complex backgrounds. Use the grid as a guide. Transparent elements may extend beyond the grid cells, but it is important to maintain overall order. Transparency and overlay in grid-based typography are powerful tools for creating expressive visual solutions. They allow you to combine strict structure with creativity, creating multi-layered compositions with a unique character. Skillful use of these techniques helps designers not only organize information, but also make it aesthetically appealing and memorable. Transparency and overlay are important tools in modern typography, especially within a grid structure. These methods allow you to create multi-layered compositions, enhance visual dynamics, and emphasize the interaction of elements.